We're on our way up. Woo! St George's Park. Come on, wake up, switch on, Ben. Come on, come on. Get out of my way. It's only kids' football's coming through.
Right, anyway, we are on our way to St George's Park, the National Football Centre, to find out more about 3v3. The change is titled Future Fit. This is the biggest restructuring of youth football in England since 2011. And 3v3 has been introduced. I will be taking my youngest Charlie into that format. What are your thoughts on 3v3, Michael?
I'm really interested to learn more because maybe it's just a social media thing, but you just can't help but not look at the negatives with it. And there are some negatives that we will be debunking potentially, but I'm sure there's loads of positives. And we've had loads of ex-pros like Saul, right? He was a big fan of it when it was first introduced. So I just want to get into the positives and then just understand how, as a nation, we're going to tackle some of the negatives. How about you? Because obviously you're going to be closer to this with Charlie.
As a nation?
Yeah. What do you mean? Life doesn't just happen in Leon Sea, fella. You think I was doing some rally cry?
No, mate, we're not on the fucking beaches, mate. It's 3v3.
Yeah, it goes up and down the country. As a nation, we stand together.
I think that mainly the noise around it from a negativity point of view is about the logistics.
Yeah.
But I actually think as a concept for getting more touches, more game time, more time on the ball, more 1v1 opportunities to try and dribble, try skills, using different parts of the feet, using both feet. I can't see any downside in terms of like the actual technical outcomes that you get from the game. My thoughts are more like logistical. How do you, like, there's the pitches, the refs, like when we played the game and if there's no inflatables around the side of the pitch, the ball goes off all the time. How do you stop a kid just standing in the goal hanging or blocking the goal?
Not having a goalkeeper in general.
Yeah, which we've had goalkeepers messaging, like, what does that mean for the development of goalkeepers? So I think that it's a really nice initiative in terms of technical outcomes, but in real world practice, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I'm interested to find out how, like, what the FA has thought of those potential problems and how they're going to tackle them as a nation.
Yeah, but it's also just it's not a new concept, is it?
No.
Lots of other European countries have been doing this for years. So I know that they've done a massive study around it. I think Liverpool John Moores, who might even be there today, they did a big, I guess, survey, right? And they've done a big piece of research around it. So again, we can learn more about that. And what's been amazing is we called out to our audience, didn't we? Send in your questions. Didn't realise we'd have 5,000 questions to go through. But we will certainly be asking some of the best ones to some key people within the FA and some ex-pros.
Right, so we started the day, had a few different presentations talking about logistics, how it will work, the setup, the matches, how the FA see it implementing it, and a little bit about why they brought it in. And now we're just watching a session here with the 3v3 in action. What are you thinking so far, Michael?
It's quite good. They're giving us a lot of the insights around the research that they've done. We're going to have a session later around more of the detail on that. And then they basically said you have to just see it to really appreciate what it is, and it sells itself. So that's why we're here having a look at it.
When you're out here and you're watching kids and you're seeing them play and they get loads of touches of the ball, that is all the good stuff. But it's the imperfect nature of grassroots football where I sit there and I think to myself, well, what about when the numbers aren't right? What about when this person hasn't turned up? What about when the balls keep going off the pitch? But we're going to talk to some ex-England and players and kind of get to hear their thoughts on it and see where we go from there. Right, Rachel, Glen, This is that It's Only Kids Football podcast. This podcast is basically about two Wallies, terrible parents and rubbish football coaches. Obviously, you two played at the elite level of football, but now I believe you're both football parents, but your children play. No fibs now. I know we're here for the FA. What are you really like, both of you, as football parents when your kids are playing? What are you like on the sideline?
I'd say I'm pretty calm, to be fair. I try and stay out of it, chuck a few little bits of encouragement in here and there, but other than that, I'd say I'm pretty good and pretty calm.
What age group are your kids?
The youngest one's under 15s.
Okay.
Yeah, he's playing for under 15s. But the middle one, he's 15, but he don't want to play football now. He started boxing instead.
We'll definitely come on to that.
Rachel, what about you?
Well, I've got two daughters, so they're not actually playing, but encouraging her to, well, the older one at least, to try and get into doing sports or activities and stuff like that. So I can't answer what I'm like in terms of like screamer or shouter, but I'm trying to encourage to get into. Just I find with some, especially girls, might be wrong, the anxiousness of getting involved. And that's probably why I like things like this, because it's a smaller format. You're there with your friends, you're taking control. And that's why I'd encourage, especially girls, to be confident, less sort of self-confidence of like, oh, I can't do that. I can't. Have a go. Just, there's no rights or wrongs. Just enjoy.
Absolutely. And before we get into the 3v3 chat, what was your first grassroots team?
YMCA, local team.
And how long did you play for them for?
Actually not long.
No, too good.
Yeah, I played like one season, but I got scouted for West Ham after the second game.
Yeah.
The second go?
Yeah. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Do you remember the team though? Do you remember the kids in it? Do you remember anything about the team?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, some of them I actually still see occasionally, like locally now.
Amazing.
But yeah, so it happened pretty quick.
So the level you got to, you played 2 games for them. Do you still remember it?
I do remember it, yeah. And it's like, I was as a kid, I didn't have a position. I remember sitting there and he was like, where'd you play? And I was like, I don't know. So he just said,
on the pitch.
He went to go up front and see what happens. And then I scored quite a lot of goals. So he's like, okay, you can stay there.
And Rach, what about you? What was your first, the team you played for?
First team I played for was a boys' team. 2 mates that lived across the road we all wanted to play for a team. And their friend's dad set up a team that they joined, and I sort of tagged along and pretended to be a boy. It's really bad.
I feel like I've read that.
Yeah. So they all called me Ray, but the manager, I know, every time I explain this, it gets worse. Yeah, my initials spell out Ray, so I became Ray and just joined the boys' team. The manager knew I was a girl, and he was really nice. He just allowed me to. I don't know. It sounds really wrong, but like, although I was pretending to be something I wasn't, I felt free and I felt like I could be me.
Okay.
And he gave me, the opportunity to play for a team, which is what I wanted to do. I just wanted to play football. I just loved football. So to be able to represent that team and play, and feel like all the other little boys that were running around pretending to be their favourite footballer, that was just what I did, and I just enjoyed it, and again didn't have a position or anything, just went onto the pitch and just played.
We're kind of here today with the 3v3 format. Obviously, when I was a kid, same for you, straight into 11-a-side, small kid, oversized kit, standing in a massive goal, like completely different, which is what I would say encouraged long ball, power and pace football. This is more technical stuff. Like when you watch it here and you've heard all about it, what do you think of the 3v3 format? What is it you like about it?
It's exactly that, what you said there, like the technical side of it. They're all so close to the action, being on the smaller pitches, getting loads of touches. Ultimately, they're having fun, which you want to see at this age. And you can only get better technically if you're spending time on the ball and getting touches and being in the action. Like you say, because certainly me growing up, you'd go to a park, there'd be 2 goals miles apart, and like you say, the fastest player basically wins. That was basically it.
I think as well, the social side of it. you know, all these kids, all you can hear behind you is kids talking. And, you know, that's like whether you're the best player on the pitch or not, you can still bring something to the game. And I suppose for young kids now with technology that comes in, actually the fitness side of it, being on the pitch, moving up and down, it's small. So you've got to constantly be working for the whole of the time. There's no subs or anything like that. So I think there's real benefits to playing sort of 3v3.
Yeah. And when you're watching this and you're kind of seeing all these kids demonstrate their skills, get to show their stuff off, like, do you wish, I know your kids have progressed in football, do you wish they'd had the opportunity to play this and had that great foundation and touches on the ball?
Yeah, definitely. I can only see positives. You know, at this age, well, at any age, you want them to be having fun. You know, there's a lot of, it's not all about trying to get into an academy or trying to turn pro. You know, there's a lot of people that don't do that, but a lot of people that love football. So for me at this age, I just need to enjoy it, have fun. And it's this sort of age where they're going to fall in love with the game. And then which path they choose to take after that is, you know, they can go their own way. But as long as they're having fun and enjoying it, that's the main thing.
I think one thing I've really noticed is it's competitive, because kids will be competitive playing sports, but it's competitive amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And the parents, who often is, you know, the almost the negative side of grassroots football in so many ways, because you're taking the competitiveness away of like a score, it needs to be this, it needs to be this format. I feel like it will help on the social side with the parents, which hopefully starts to simmer a lot of them down, because that can be a real issue in grassroots.
Yeah.
Did you see a lot of that kind of negative aspects on the sidelines?
I saw actually for me, I think it was probably a real benefit. I didn't grow up with my dad. I grew up with my mum, and then mostly my mum at that point, she enjoyed watching football, but wouldn't know too much of the rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And wouldn't come to every game. So, but the the children who had their and I will say it, mainly their dads there that had played football.
That's what it
Sorry
was.
guys.
They are.
Sorry guys.
Yeah, it's true.
The dads there that played football and that thought that they knew everything about the game and dictated the game. Actually, those girls were probably, if anyone was to drop out or disengage, they were actually quicker. And I think it was a real benefit to me. If my mum did come and watch and I scored a goal, she'd just be happy for me.
Yeah.
If it was in the wrong goal, she'd still be happy for me.
She wouldn't know.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, she wasn't bothered. So I think it was a real benefit that actually, you know, it was more about seeing your child enjoying, smiling, having fun, rather than win, and, you know, dictating the rules and getting the car afterwards and going back through the whole of the game and you did this well and you did that. I wasn't having those conversations that allowed the football space to just be mine. And I think that was a real positive for me.
Did you have that, Glen? Was the car journey as you get in?
No, to be fair, I was exactly the same as Rachel.
Yeah.
My dad weren't around, which probably helped. My mum used to take me everywhere, but didn't have a clue about football. So she wouldn't have any knowledge of, you know, she'd just be like, let you go and have fun and almost let the coaches sort of do their role and do their job. So I never had that car journey. But even on the other side, when I'm the one driving with my kids in the car, you know, I'll chuck a little bit of positive, you know, tell them what they've done right, what they've done wrong. But ultimately, I always say to them, just go and have fun. Like, work your socks off and have fun. I literally say it to them every game. So it's like, because the pressure will soon come on its own if they take that path. But for me, I've said to them, like, I don't even care what you do, just be the best you can be at it and enjoy it.
Yeah. So you obviously both played for England, and the conversation that happens a lot around England, especially at major tournaments, is like the ability, the ball retention of like the Spanish and the French. And I know that the sort of fruition of this came from those countries where they play 3v3 in Holland, Belgium, and they play smaller formats and it's more or less structured, more like this. Do you think this kind of format, bringing it here to England, obviously then we need years, there needs to be a ripple effect of it being in, but that will help the pro level teams. I know we want kids at grassroots level to enjoy themselves, but pro level teams, kids coming through, that ball retention, that ability to look after it under pressure, ball mastery, you know, every one of your defenders is good on the ball. Do you think that is going to help? It'll have that ripple effect to the top of the game as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, there's a lot of big footballing nations that have been doing this a long time and produce fantastic technical players. You know, it's not all about speed and size now. You know, some of the best players are tiny, you know, but if they can retain the ball and game fouls, then, you know, that's all you need to do. So Absolutely. Like you say, it's going to take a while for it to sort of feed into that. And like you say, it's not all about that. There's most people that aren't going to go down that road. So it's all about having fun for them. But absolutely, the whoever the pro is in the next sort of 15 years, and if they've grown up with this, then it's only going to help.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Rose, what do you think for you in terms of like, that piece you're talking about in terms of encouraging girls to play? Because my girlfriend's like younger sister, I remember taking her along, and there was this like wanting to be there, and then we stand on the sideline almost like gripped with fear, and then not wanting to do it. But I feel like these smaller groups will encourage girls to play football.
Definitely. I think, especially like where this format, where there's so many games going on at once, it's not all eyes on you as one person. You can be hidden within the whole sort of setup, but yet have fun. There's 2 other teammates there with you, supporting you. I think, it's a key way to building confidence in the smaller groups, less dependent on you've done the wrong thing. Because in these games, okay, you just, something goes wrong, something goes right, you make a mistake. There's not someone shouting at you, just adapt and you make a different choice. And then you repetitively, because the games they're so close, the time span that you've got, you can just keep going. And it's about making decisions. And I think in terms of like, I coached a lot in primary schools, and what I would find when I coached the kids in primary schools, the boys that felt confident to play football would just go and do. The girls would hold back, and they didn't want to try for the fear of failing. But then 6 weeks later, once they'd felt that they'd mastered it, were actually technically becoming out better than some of the boys that were going out there and just going, I know how to do that. So it's about giving people time. And if you get used to playing on a pitch, smaller pitch, less people, allowing you that confidence, I think you will get those better footballers that you've just spoke about, those footballers that are more confident on the ball.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I think we're getting looked at. It's time to wrap it up.
Time to go.
But I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you. Cheers, Ben.
Yeah,
Thank
mate.
you. Cheers.
Nice
Thank you
one.
very
Thank
much.
mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks. Cheers.
Well done.
Good, I'm down. Clean team.
Right, so we just chatted with Glen Johnson and Rachel Yankey, and they made some really nice points, especially around women's football and how it'd be more encouraging for girls to play. But now we need to ask the hard-hitting questions. We've got some people from the FA to do that too. You guys sent your questions in. We looked for them. We extracted the main themes and questions, the things that you wanted to know. And now we're going to sit down with the FA and find out what they've got to say. John, Claire, welcome to the Tony Kids Football Podcast. We're here today talking about the 3v3 format. You're introducing it, the Future Fit rollout.
Yeah.
Do you just want to tell everyone what your role is within the FA, and then we'll jump into the questions? Do you want to start, Claire?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Claire, Senior National Development Manager at the FA, and I'm responsible for innovation and solutions. So modern fit-for-purpose interventions like you see behind us happening today, that's the role of myself and the team that I work in.
Yeah, I'm John Folwell. I'm Head of Grassroots Coaching at the FA in the Grassroots Division.
Fantastic. So my first take on it, and I think we asked our listeners what they thought. The positives are loads of touches of the ball. Yeah. My youngest, Charlie, he's going to be introduced into this. This will be his first feel for football, his first experience of football.
Yep.
I love that he's getting loads of touches of the ball. I was even asked, do you want him to jump up to 5v5? I said no.
Yeah.
I'm really into this. I want him to ball mastery 1v1.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. You kind of talked about some of the pushback and stuff, and one of the points you talked about was no goalkeeper.
Yes.
So when we asked our listeners,
yeah,
unsurprisingly, quite a lot of goalkeeper coaches.
Yeah.
We're talking about what would be your response to anyone who's pushing back on there being no goalkeepers, and what negative effect that might have on the development of goalkeepers?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I would say is this is not about deprioritising goalkeeping. Goalkeeping is obviously a skill in itself, but we believe that at a young age you don't need to be a specialised goalkeeper to be a goalkeeper in the future. When you look at the game behind us, there's all sorts of things that they're doing that goalkeepers would do. They're having to look to block the goal, they're having to use their body to stop goals going in, but that's your legs, your body. The only thing they can't use is their hands. And obviously what they're also doing is improving their technical ability with the ball, which we know goalkeepers nowadays, modern goalkeepers, need to be good at doing that. So we think they're getting a lot of those generic skills that they can put into goalkeeping. There's absolutely nothing wrong with then picking them and doing it in training and do some actual handling in training as well. So it's just for 1 year. We don't think that's going to have a negative effect on their development of becoming a goalkeeper if that's what they end up doing.
I think of our goalkeeper actually. He's an out-and-out goalkeeper now, but he certainly didn't start as a goalkeeper. That's the same story for a lot, right?
Yeah.
In that first year, you're kind of scrambling around trying to find a goalkeeper, but
Yeah.
most teams, I'd say, especially in our experience, haven't had a dedicated keeper at that young age. There's a bit of rotation.
It's quite rare, isn't it, to find
Yeah.
a kid who really, really wants to go in goal. And we're not saying don't do that, but it's not needed in this format.
And I think the other thing just to think about this is you want every kid to have a really, really positive experience of their first introduction of football. And if, like you said, you're scrambling around to find someone to do that, is that kid going to enjoy that experience as much as they would do if they get to shoot and defend in the same way that this has been created? This is at its core about kids, what kids want and what kids need to have a really good time. You don't go to the cinema and force them to turn around and not see the screen because we need someone to sit in that chair. These kids are 6 years old. It's not going to define whether or not they're going to be a professional as a goalkeeper or a player. This is about having the best relationship that they can have with physical activity and their own technical development.
I think you touched on a really good point there around just that enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fundamental to everything we talk about all the time. But I think lots of already today, and I know we've got another session this afternoon all around educating coaches, educating the kids almost as well around the formats.
Yeah.
But one part of the major enjoyment of kids football hinges on the parents.
Yes.
Is there a phased rollout around educating the parents, or is that going to be the role of the coaches to then give that information to the rest of the group?
So, as I was explaining earlier, we've introduced something called the Youth Development Framework, which at the heart is the player's experience of football, which is two things that go with it: champion children's right and the spirit of the game. One of the quadrants that sit in that is parents and carers. And as an organisation, we are now putting a focus on how we work with parents and carers. We recognise that they're one of our biggest stakeholder groups, and the amount of communication engagement we have with them is minimal. So in June we're launching something called Welcome to Football, which is going to coincide with 3v3 launch, and parents are going to be taken on a journey across the season with their children. So then we'll then onboard all the rest of the parents for the remaining formats the following season. So the plans are there. The content's being created at the moment. So in answer, we are. You can't do this on your own, so we want to help.
I think a lot of people talk about parent behaviour on the sideline. The adults around the pitch can be challenging, can't it? As a grassroots coach myself, that's always been a challenge. But I think we can help coaches help themselves with parents as well. What are some of the things they can do to communicate better to the parents about what is the focus of training at the moment and what does that look like in a game setting? Maybe even doing team talks at the start with the parents next to them so they can hear the messages that are going on. Dropping a message out in the WhatsApp group to say, these are the sort of the challenges that we're facing with the players, and setting some individual targets just to help parents, because we often say they're a bit of a challenge, but I don't think we necessarily do enough, and that's what the game plan will help with.
No, our biggest thing is we are absolutely against demonising parents.
Yeah,
they're human beings.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They get thrown into this situation.
100%.
You don't care about anything more than your kid.
Of course.
Exactly.
So when you're people will, and I'd say it's mainly, there are lots of other sports, but it's always football parents that get pulled up, and there are other parents that get worked up, ballet, music, swimming, gymnastics, whatever. Your kid is in this moment, this thing that you love, and that's why you get worked up, and you behave in a way that completely contradicts your day-to-day personality because you just want to see them do well. But when I watched this, one of the things that we thought was this actually feels like a training session.
Yeah.
And that is partly why I think it diffuses the desire to win. Not that they don't want to win, but the games are quick, you're moving around. That takes the pressure off the coach, because the coach is now a facilitator rather than because the coach is the person that feels the pressure from the parents. Yeah. So now there's that less pressure on him. And because the kids are moving around, I don't feel like the parents will be getting as worked up. Yeah. Because it feels more like this is arranged for fun. It's like training. It's kind of...
Agreed.
I don't know if that was part of the thinking, but when I was watching it, that was what I was...
Yeah.
I think the realism is when you're a parent, you're at the side of the pitch and you're watching a game, at some moments you just have a chat, don't you, to them, well, what did you do last night, or such and such, and then you look up and they've changed pitch.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to track the number of goals scored, the number of goals against. Yeah. So don't use your energy on it and just watch and enjoy with your child having a really good time.
It also gives a lot of the freedom and the desire to win, just that onus just on the kids.
Yes.
Because a lot of the behaviours that children face on the pitch comes from their parents or their coaches, driving them forward, getting them going, positive and negative. But that just gives all of that freedom to them. They can make all the decisions themselves. That's what I think would be really, really helpful for them, because we've seen it so many times, literally time and time again, and we've been guilty of it ourselves, of shouting too much, controlling their movements too much, to the point where if you're not doing that, they don't know what to do. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, this is about like returning it to the kids. Like let them. It's a competitive game. If you look at those behind us, it's a really competitive game. But it's not about winning at all costs. You can't hear any parents shouting. It's all about the kids making their own decisions. And from a coaching perspective, also, you're just facilitating. You're allowing them to play, and you're just helping them get to the right pitch on time. That's as simple as it is. And I know when I've had like a 5v5 format and I might have 4 subs, it's really hard to manage as a grassroots coach. Like when I'm going to get them on, where do I play everybody? What's the time I need to give? Fair play. But everyone's playing, so it makes it a lot easier, I think, for grassroots coaches.
So one thing that I was thinking when I really found a bit helpful where you were talking about like how the layout of the pitches and how that match day will run. But one thing I was thinking is, so we're not keeping score, right? Is that, are we keeping scores of the games or not? Because my one thought on that was, so when you did 5v5, the first 6 months were working out how good you were, so that you were put in a group of other teams that were on your level, right? So I was just sitting there thinking, how do we ensure that players are playing against teams where there's not a huge imbalance of level and ability because we're not keeping the score?
I think the one thing that you can already see across these pitches is that differentiation spectrum isn't like this anymore. After about 6 weeks, it's narrowed significantly. So you're not having to worry about what do I do with this kid that's really good, and what do I do with this kid that's never done anything before. It's naturally narrowing because children are getting the opportunity to play, and if you play, you get better. Like anything, if you want to learn the piano, if you practice, you get better. But because they're getting the full 40 minutes every single child, they are all improving and they are all able to play, which again helps the coach make it easier. The other things you've got at your disposal that we spoke about inside is, if you do have children that need challenging, they can be put in a 2. You could move kids around, just because like if we started together as a 3, we don't have to finish like that. Coaches have the flexibility to move. I'm not being challenged, or that's too much being with you two, I'll go and move and play somewhere else. You've got that flexibility to meet the needs of the kids on the day.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. No, that's a good point. So we've kind of done 3v3 where there's no barriers, and we've done 3v3 with the barriers. The barriers, in my opinion, is a positive because it stops the ball going out of play. And you know what kids are like? The ball goes out of play and all 6 of them run after it, and then you go stop, and then they all run back, and you're like, no, I just wanted one of you to go and get it. I assume obviously, the obvious answer is having lots of footballs around the side of the pitch, but how do you keep that ball moving when they're kicking the ball off all the time?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We're not saying you can't use those inflatables, but we're not saying you have to either, because it's a cost. It's a huge cost for grassroots. So there's a different return, isn't there, for players? If the ball never goes out, there's a different return that you're going to get. If the ball goes out, you can restart in different ways. But it's just multi-ball, really. It's making sure that you've got balls around to make sure that you can keep it going as quickly as possible. Or that's where parents might be able to help as well. They might be able to make sure balls are coming back on in a quicker way.
Yeah.
One thing I had noticed, because that was an actual genuine concern of mine as well, is because it's like, say, 2 teams but split into multiple 3v3s, is that actually if you've just got, say, 10, 15 balls, if the ball goes across onto another pitch, that coach or facilitator can just keep that ball for the next time it comes, and you just get a different one. So you're kind of sharing the balls across the 4 pitches, 6 pitches, whatever you might have. Because I did think having to run onto another pitch, the other side, just to get that ball back might be a bit of a nightmare.
I remember that was in one of the podcasts that I watched of yours, that was spoken about. And actually, it's good seeing it, isn't it? Because you can see practically there's ways in which you can manage that. I think what this does drive as well is grassroots coaches, opposition grassroots coaches working together. This isn't about me coming with 9 players and I'm going to beat you. We're coming together and you're going, right, your assistant's going to help you and Claire's going to help me. We've got 4 adults. we're going to help these kids have the best morning of football. This should be their best time of the week.
Yeah.
How do we make sure this is the best time of the week for them?
How have you found that? I mean, listen, like you said, you do anything different, you do new change always brings about pushback,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Like, how have you, as a group, felt about that, dealt with that, and then anticipating when it comes on in September? Obviously, people that are negative are the loudest, right? You probably are not going to get a ton of people going, "You've done a really great job, well done, everyone." And what you're going to hear is, the most you're going to hear is probably people being negative. How do you feel about that? That must be, that's quite hard to deal with sometimes, right?
I think what you've got to do is look at it from the perspective of the children and why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So I think we've got like 26 leagues that have gone early this season, and I think all of them have seen huge growth, which was a massive unintended consequence of kids voting with their feet. It is, like you said, the best bit of their week. So they're going and telling other kids, and more kids want to play. So yes, people may say negative things, but why? Have they seen it? Do they understand it? What have they experienced in their world of football to have that perspective and just say, we've got an opportunity to influence and show them, and we're willing to have those conversations with people, really willing.
Yeah.
So,
And we've been through this before, right?
That's incredible. That is the first time it's happened.
But we've been here before. Mini soccer was introduced 25 years ago.
Yep.
Youth Development Review that Gareth Southgate was involved in. We had 5v5 and 9v9 introduced, 2012 I think it was. So we always know that there's going to be pushback, like with any change, but when you know that it's the right thing to do, because not just because of our expertise, it's actually data, research, there's comparisons across other European federations, it's happened, it's worked. And there's going to be teething problems, there's going to be challenges, but also I think genuinely people, like you said about parents, they're all well intended. I mean, these people give up their time to run football. Without volunteers, we don't have the game. So I think their heart's in the right place, but sometimes they just need to see it and actually can see that it does work.
What was this done with? Obviously, the overarching objective you outlined was basically improve the experience for kids, their development and fun. But is there a thought ahead to how does this develop elite level teams? Because I said to Rachel and Glen, the criticism often of England teams, we're talking about World Cup to top level, is ball retention, keeping the ball, ball mastery. And when you play against the likes of like France and Spain, they're holding on to the ball better. Is this done with the intention of, it's not the main objective, but if we develop players that are better on the ball, does that help the senior team in 10 years, 15, 20 years time? Are these plans, is that part of the thought process as well?
not really. It's about these kids that you can see them here. Look, all of them having a smile on their face and getting to play the game that they love. You know, if one of them, probably none of them here will end up playing elite football. So, you know, that just happens as a byproduct of having a really good experience of the game. If we can give these kids the opportunity to be physically active, to develop social skills, leadership skills, confidence, problem solving, and then they stay in football, you know, and become a fan or a coach or a referee or maybe a talented player, we've done a good job. Yeah. And if one of them goes on to represent a country or plays for a professional team, then great, they're going to benefit from that. But it's not the driving force.
No, I think one of the things that we've probably not been as declared about in the last 10 years or so, which if you remember the old England DNA, and it was quite clear about what we're trying to develop in players, I think we're going to start returning some of those messages out to the game. And what you hopefully can see here is that at this age, this is about agility, balance, coordination. It's about the kids getting confidence in their physical sort of literacy. But at the same time, there's loads and loads of dribbling, loads of 1v1s. Yeah. We want them to fall in love with the ball, don't we? So fall in love with the ball. Later on, they'll be able to think about combining with a teammate and thinking about sharing that ball. So I think that helps with technical development and players being able to fulfil their potential. It's not the driving force, it's a byproduct of it. But I think it'll help if we're a little bit more declared about why we're doing this to help players develop these things.
To me, it felt like a sort of structured street football.
Yeah. Playground, recreate the playground. Yeah.
And we talk a lot about this because there is so much structure now in the game of football. You know, there's academies on every street corner, and you can find structure wherever you go. And it's harder for kids to just go out to the park on their own and play.
Exactly.
It's structured, yes, but it is unstructured in that you just getting them on a pitch and saying play. So I can see the benefit of that. So I guess the only question I had to end really was,
here we go, isn't
it? Is how do you stop clubs from just saying, oh, we're just going to skip this?
Yeah.
Do you think that is a genuine concern? Because we have had a lot of messages to say either we are thinking about skipping it or we have already skipped it.
Yeah, it is a risk, and there's always been a rule in place where you can play up an age group. That was always put in place for two reasons. One, for individual needs of a player, not necessarily for a whole team to do that. But also in rural areas, you might need to play up an age group because there isn't enough teams for that, so accessibility.
Okay.
But yes, we're hearing that. We would ask the question of the coach and the club and the league why they're doing that, and really consider what they're potentially going to miss out for the development of that player or that group of players. There is also part of the rule that some coaches and administrators might not understand, is that you will actually cut off some players being able to play. So if you turn 6 at the moment, you can play under 7s football. If you turn 6 during the season, you can't play under 8s. And I don't think many people understand that rule's in place. So that will have a social impact on that group of players, and some players won't be able to play in the team that they want to play in. So I think there's other things to consider. Obviously, you've made that choice around your own son.
Yeah.
I want to make sure he has the best introduction to the game. This race to the next format, we need to challenge that and ask why. Why do people want to do that? What's the reason? What's driving that decision?
Just because you're playing a bigger format doesn't mean your players are better.
No.
That's what people need to understand. That is a pathway and a maximum format for some kids. Progressing through that at a rate that's been designed as a tier isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things happening in their life. They're growing, they're developing, the onset of puberty. You want to give your kids the best chance to stay in the game as long as possible.
Just two more questions from me. One quickly. So we loved like the kick-in because we encourage our team to play fast, play quick. That's the whole idea of the kick-in, right? And I'd say that we are fortunate in the sense that we have good players that can do that. Now, we've played weaker teams that don't have as good of players, and because the coach is trying to orchestrate a good result, they're using the kick-in, like them booting it, right? So obviously you're always going to get adults that take
Try and
advantage.
game it.
Yeah. I couldn't think of too many on this, but I was wondering, like, what if the team's winning? And by the way, I know it sounds mental, but you do know that parents and coaches are also mental and might do this. But they say to the kid, we're winning, right, everyone go and stand in front of the goal. Yeah. Obviously, I'd be standing there. Most people are like, what are you doing? Like, this is, why would you do that? Yeah. But people might do that. Yeah. What would you say to people that try and game the system like that?
Yeah, so we are bringing some guidance out, aren't we? With the sideline restart, we've created some videos and resources that they'll be relaunched sometime in the summer to try and help people understand why we've done the rule. Sometimes they see the rule, they don't understand the reason behind it. It's all about speeding the game up, helping kids make a decision, get more technical actions. And we're being really deliberate. You call it a kick-in. Yeah. We're being really deliberate. It's a pass-in. Right. So even that terminology changes the connotation. Pass it in, try and keep the ball. Kick-in is like, let's lump it as far as we can and cause some chaos.
But we see that a lot.
Yeah. So we're trying to educate. We haven't actually had a lot of feedback from the early adopters or the testing that's happened in 3v3. We have seen it a little bit in the sort of 5v5 and 7v7 piece, which is why we're creating these resources. And I think it's an education thing to keep supporting coach education.
You've gone through this whole process. We're here today, we're talking about it. How excited are you now? September, we're going to get going. Like it's going to be properly rolled out. Are you excited? How excited are you? What do you expect to happen once we get going with it?
It'll be chaos, like to start with, because it was chaos when we started early adopter leagues, when we did the testing. You know, for the first 6 weeks, just embrace the chaos. But you looking at that today, would you say that was chaotic?
No, it's fun.
No, they're all the kids.
And these aren't pros, right? They're just
normal kids
that we've
busted in that have done this for a season. And wouldn't you just love to have those kids to take through to 5v5? Like, you know, it is going to be chaotic, but embrace the chaos because the kids love it. They develop really quickly. The physical activity returns are going to be off the scale. And I just can't wait to just walk, you know, go out on a Saturday and just see it happening and seeing people understanding why we've done it.
If you want to go and have a look at those kids, most of them have red cheeks, sweaty hair. They've had a great time.
They all would have scored a
That's
goal.
what I'm excited about. They've all, scored a goal,
Every
stopped
single
a goal,
one of them.
had loads of touches of the ball, not sat around at all getting cold, watching the mates play. I think as adults, we've got to also get, embrace the chaos.
Yeah.
But be comfortable being uncomfortable because it can look messy. But as adults, we want it to look nice and neat and tidy. We want to see them passing and creating loads of goals. Just enjoy the smiles on the faces of the kids. Yeah.
That's such a good point because our boys are now 9, 10 years old and we're already starting to see the end. We're only 3 years into our journey. We're like, oh God, we're going to blink and it's going to be over. So yeah, you're right. Just take one more season, take a breath, and just let them
share
enjoy
the
it.
memories together and
enjoy, like you say.
like the biggest thing for me with anything to do with coaching is, you know, when these kids are like 20 or 30 years old, you don't want them sat, you know, with their mates going, oh, do you remember Folly? He was the worst coach we ever had. He's the reason why we stopped playing.
Yeah.
Like you
want
never,
the opposite, don't
you want the opposite. You don't ever want to be the reason why someone stopped playing.
Yeah.
And I think this gives an opportunity to set kids off to have a great relationship with the game.
When you speak to Rachel, she talks so fondly about her grassroots coach.
Yeah,
she was the only girl. She was playing as a boy, and it was her grassroots coach that just gave her the opportunity. And without grassroots coaches doing that, then you don't have a game, do you? So.
You came here with certain expectations. We've learned a load of stuff. What's your perception of the 3v3 format?
What I would say is they didn't shy away from the tough questions. I think they're very open and honest around, you know, this is going to be a constant evolution. We want to tackle the tough questions head on, throw anything at us, which obviously we did and everyone else did. I'd say if you don't try it, at least for the year, or at least for, I don't know, a few months, I think it would be a massive shame to just say, you know what, I'm not going to bother with it and just go up an age group. I think it would be a shame. We saw it live and I think there is clearly some tangible benefits to it. There are some, it's a bit of give and take, but overall I'd say the benefits outweigh the negatives, and it's going to be a bit of chaos for a little while, but I think it's definitely going to be worth a try, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. My thoughts were they've definitely consulted a lot of people and thought about all the things that can go wrong. They understand the imperfect nature and chaos of grassroots football. I think parents and coaches and anyone involved has to accept that you can't expect anything to be introduced new and it just to run smoothly. And if you want to be this in for the long run and to help players and to help football development in this country, you have to accept that when it starts, things are going to go wrong. You've got to learn, adapt and tweak, and they've got a ton of resources. You can contact your county FA, like there'll be support there for you. But it's also about being flexible and not rigid. Like when like what they're talking about, where you've got an odd number of players, okay?
Yeah.
We'll then play a 3v2 and put the best player in the two, or whatever. Just try things. It doesn't have to be this like rigid way of doing it. You can be flexible, and the data is irrefutable.
Yeah.
The players are going to get more touches. They have to make more decisions, going to be put in more scenarios, more situations. They're going to have more game time, more time on the ball. Like that is without doubt. You cannot deny any of the benefits of that. And the logistical stuff, I think, will be a little bit complicated at the beginning, but over time, as of anything, it will smooth itself out. They're ironing out the kinks and it will become really beneficial. I'm actually now, like before, I kind of felt a little bit like I was sort of going into it a little bit blind. Now I feel like I've been here today. I'm actually quite excited about doing it with Charlie's team, and I think it's going to be really beneficial to him. And yeah, I can't wait to get started.
And just to be clear, the FA haven't paid us to come here, right?
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
No.
This is genuinely our opinions. We voiced all the questions that we were given, that we also thought as well. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but I think, as you said, the benefits certainly outweigh the negatives that are still going to be there, but it's, you know, and actually I got a lot out of the conversations with Rachel Yankey and Glen Johnson. I mean, that barrier, the barrier to entry, especially for girls football, is massive. And actually this could be a huge way of getting kids into football, but more importantly, girls into football. And that shouldn't be underestimated as well. It's a key thing, right? It's a big barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it even kind of made me sat there thinking, quite like to do a little bit more free stuff with our boys, like in training, like when you see the benefits, the amount of touches, the amount of shots, the amount of tackles, the amount of things they have to do, it just accentuates all the things that kids want to do in a game. I thought that was interesting. 3v3 gives you more opportunities to do things that kids love in football. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing it. I think that it won't be perfect once we get started. There will be things that go wrong. There's going to be some logistical, it's going to be a bit of a mess. They said that it's going to be a bit chaotic. That's fine. I think in the long run, this is what's best for England. This is what's best for England. So that's it for today. That is a wrap. We've really enjoyed ourselves. We've learned loads about the 3v3 format, and we want to know what you think, your questions, your thoughts on this video. Put them in the comments below, and obviously we only had a certain amount of time to cover everything with the new format and the changes with the future fit that's coming to football in this country. But click the link in the description and the show notes, and you can find out everything you need to know about the new 3v3 format.
Also, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if you like our content, make sure you watch some previous episodes with the link here and here and there and there. Make sure you, make sure you keep watching.
For once in my life, I have somebody who needs me.